RICA you visited today is Rwanda Inspectorate, Competition and Consumer Protection Authority. It's a regulatory body under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and we have a threefold mandate explaining what we do, and that indicates the difference between this RICA and the RICA you referred to as a university. So RICA's three mandates includes one, quality regulation enforcement. Well, basically we refer to our threefold mandate as one, enforcement of standard and regulation. Second is consumer protection, and the third is competition. When we talk about the first mandate of quality, here we refer that from the scope defined by the law establishing RICA, we've got agriculture products, livestock products, and what we refer to as general commodities. Here you can talk about construction materials, electrical and electronics, leather products, to mention but a few. Basically all other products other than food, processed food and drugs, because those we have another regulatory body referred to as Rwanda Food and Drug Authority. So from the perspective of quality, the difference between RICA and FDA is just the scope. Yeah. And then on the second mandate that RICA has is about consumer protection. When we talk about consumer protection, most people think every other regulator is doing consumer protection, but that's not the case. Definitely, if any regulator delivers rightly on the mandate of enforcing compliance, it has a good effect on consumer, and we refer to that as indirect protection of consumer. Because why we say it is indirect consumer protection is because their primary mandate in so doing is not necessarily consumer protection. Rather, their core mandate is ensuring compliance of the products or the services under their mandate. Yeah, but now let's clarify when we talk about RICA as a consumer protection authority. We are talking about the consumer rights. Consumer rights are numerous. One and the most important among them is safety. And safety is the one that comes with that enforcement of different regulatory bodies to ensure that any services, any products are really complying to the specifications, be them standard specifications or technical regulations or any regulation requirements. So when a product or a service complies to those kind of requirements, then you can be sure these institutions have delivered on their mandate of regulation standards enforcement. And as such, it benefits consumer. You can be sure the consumer who will access those products or services as accessing safe products, which is one of the consumer rights of safety to quality. I mean, it's like consumer a right to safe and quality products or services. The second consumer right, which falls among the different rights that RICA as a consumer protection authority is supposed to safeguard, is consumer right to information, consumer right to choice, consumer right to redress in case a consumer has faced unfair treatment with the traders. Because usually when we refer to consumer protection as a second mandate of RICA, it's about the relationship between consumer and traders. Basically, that is the simplest way I can explain this mandate of consumer protection. We are trying to make sure that we are achieving through the law that protects consumer, that traders are fairly treating consumers, because consumer is regarded as vulnerable in this partnership between a trader and a consumer. That's why the law requires and puts in place such authority to safeguard consumer rights. The third mandate of RICA is competition. When we talk about competition coming from the Competition and Consumer Protection Law, for which RICA is the enforcing body, we are regarding to a relationship now between two traders dealing in the same business. The law has put in place requirements that RICA is to enforce and to ensure there is fair competition. Competition is healthy. It's healthy for businesses to thrive, but it's also healthy for consumers. Without competition, some of these consumer rights we talked about, like choice, cannot be realized, because consumer would not have a choice, and not having choice means not having bargaining power. So that's why it's very important to have institution, authority like RICA to enforce fair competition. When we talk about fair competition, to bring out some keywords which people should always relate with, you can talk about cartels. You can talk about misuse, abuse of dominance, what we call abuse of dominance. Abuse of dominance is like if you are on the market, maybe you're bigger than others. It's not a problem, but the law sets limitations, sets guidelines through which you need to operate so as not to abuse that dominance of you being there. And then that's where we bring about the words like monopoly. You have heard, it may not be, it's not a problem, but it becomes a problem when you abuse that dominance, because monopoly leads to you having dominance, but then it should not be abused. We talk about different anti-competitive practices under the competition mandate. Those anti-competitive practices that can happen, RICA is there to do those kind of inspections, to follow up in case of any complaints, just to ensure that the market is operating in a healthy way that supports everyone to trade and benefit from the trade, but without abusing. So those are the three mandates that RICA is here to do. In order to enforce compliance, standard compliance, or consumer quality requirements compliance, RICA, we are putting in place regulations for the local production, but when developing this regulation, since we are trading with different partners, different countries, all our regulation align with regional, continental, international standards. So once we have regulations, we usually make sure they are aligning with our trading partners' regulations. So when we do the enforcement for consumer protection, definitely this extends beyond the local market, and also positions our business people to be ready to meet the standard compliance of other trading partners. But specifically for export, we focus mainly on destination markets. For example, if any business wants to export abroad, the starting point is for them to know the market requirement of where they are going. And RICA has the responsibility of facilitating traders to comply, to demonstrate their compliance to the destination market. For example, if a company wants to export, let's say EU or UK, they will have to make an application for a phytosanitary certificate if it is horticulture, let's say. So while RICA processes the phytosanitary certificate to accompany the consignment going to those markets, we refer to the regulation of those countries and to the particular requirement those countries have set forth, to ensure that, one, we disseminate that information in partnership with other government agencies responsible, for example, NAEB, in the ministries who are there to support the enterprises, access market, comply with the market, and then we collaborate to train them, to show them the requirements, and once they make an application, we inspect now. That's where the role of RICA comes. We inspect those enterprises' activities so as to be able to certify that their products are complying with the destination market requirement. So basically, when it comes to export, it's more about what does the market require, and so we work to facilitate exporters to demonstrate that compliance. Having and ensuring safety, quality of products, it's a journey. It's a journey, and by putting in place the regulation, as we said, as you know, the process of putting in place regulation, it is interactive. It's not an entity sitting there and writing things and putting them there. One, regulations are developed based on standards. Even the process of putting in place standard, it is consultative, through a consultative process involving different interested parties, experts in the private sector, in the research, in the academia, everywhere. We work together and we have some standard. And then from the standard, we put regulation. And through that, we create also awareness to all concerned people. But beyond awareness, trainings are done. For example, as you know, through Government of Rwanda and through Rwanda Standards Board, we have a program called Zamukana Ubuziranenge. So that Zamukana Ubuziranenge is mainly to help the MSMEs, or the most small businesses, the startups, to also be aware of this requirement. Why I'm talking about them is because the big industries, they know and they have the capacity to make sure that whatever they are doing according to that, to the standard and regulation requirement. And definitely for those who willingly don't want to comply for other reasons, maybe for wanting to make extra benefit at the expense of safety, that's why now regulation comes in place and doing enforcement, which brings about sanctioning. But usually, as I said, compliance is a journey. So we are doing the trainings. We are actually recently we've been even holding meetings with financial institutions, because some of the complaints and the concerns we hear when we are enforcing, you find the private sector telling you, yeah, we know these requirements, you have told us, we have read, we know this regulation, but constraint, financial constraint. Sometimes they will even tell you that banks do not see us as good, and they see us as high-risk clients, and they are not willing to give us loans. So we decided to get a better solution towards the compliance level we want, to put them under the same room, discuss the requirements while the bankers or the financial institutions are there, so as to show the financial people, even though you see these businesses as risky, but when you well understand your risk, you are able to mitigate the risk. So we believe by the move we have made of involving financial institutions, it's going to bring about the result we all desire to see, because bankers are appreciated to understand the kind of risks, and now they know how to mitigate, so it can be easy for the bankers or the financial institution to make products which will fit with those clients and reduce the risks they thought, or mitigate the risk they thought would be coming with those kind of businesses. So I should say that is one of the latest strategy which we believe is going to be a game changer, whereby the enterprises are going to start accessing finances, which will help them to improve and reduce the substandard that could still be on the market. Yeah, because those are some of the challenges the private sector have been showing us, financial constraints. It's not fair, and that's why we are here to ensure fair competition. But as I said, because it's a journey and it's not a one-time event, trying to mitigate that, because we know it's not a desirable situation. That's why we have gone beyond training people on requirements, but understanding why some of them are not complying, and trying to do those extra miles of putting them with the source of solution, because actually without enforcement it becomes discouraging to the complying businesses. And this actually calls for a joint effort. Though we have this RICA as a regulatory body, but we cannot achieve this alone. And that's why we are open to working with the consumers, and when we create the awareness to the consumers about their rights, we also ask them to join in this effort. Because if consumer would really stand up for buying the right things, I'm sure it would be discouraging now to the people who have decided to continue trading in products that do not comply, since they will not have anyone to buy them, so they will they'll make any effort required. But without consumers standing up for their rights and being deliberate when making choice, then in a way they are also reducing our efforts. The regulator effort cannot achieve alone. So we call upon, with this I can just say that we call upon all consumers to join in the effort of refusing anything that does not comply. Actually, our mission is to serve the society by rendering inspection services in promotion of trade through scientific evidence-based decision-making and fair professional judgment, in order to ensure sustainable business development, as well as protection of consumer rights, animal health, and plant health. Since RICA establishment, I should say that the biggest achievement we have had is the extended consumer awareness about their rights. We have also achieved to know that most of the businesses are now aware. They know that there is a regulatory body. There are requirements to which they are supposed to comply with. We have put in place regulations, which regulations are considering context, because we used to have different regulation even before existence of RICA, but some of these laws and regulations had not addressed the context. So since the achievement, the existence of RICA, one of the biggest achievements we've had is to review some of the regulations, taking into consideration context, and ensuring that they are implementable, and we are able to achieve the end goal by having those regulations, which we are still developing. The process has not ended. Also, from the consumer protection and competition perspective, this awareness and those inspections have been taking place. And by getting feedback, getting consumers coming to us, that is one of the indications that we have been able to achieve through all the efforts we have been making, because nowadays we are seeing a lot of feedback, be them in terms of complaints, be them in terms of areas pointing to us, areas where they really need to see us doing much more. Also, our collaboration with other institutions has improved. I think maybe you have been seeing how we operate with different stakeholders. For example, in the area of used electronics, you have seen what we've been achieving with the Rwanda National Police, with RIB, and with so doing, we believe that non-compliance is reducing, though it is not something you can see easily or quantify easily, but whenever such kind of activities happen, signals are given and people are able to align themselves with the regulation in place. The challenges we are facing as a regulatory body to achieve our mandate to satisfactory level, one of the biggest mandates lies with the resources as an institution, but this is a matter that is being addressed. Actually, it is being addressed at a high level. I'm sure some of you might have followed recently when the Minister of Trade and Industry communicated to the public about the reforms that are happening within the national quality infrastructure. That means the institutions under or responsible for the quality. So we believe with those reforms, the biggest challenges that we have around staffing, around resources, around infrastructure, the testing capabilities, they will soon be resolved through this reform because government is taking it seriously and is aware of these challenges, so as to capacitate this institution, which is very promising to the consumer protection, to the compliance, to the competitiveness of Rwanda products. Yeah, so I believe that that is how some of these challenges are going to be addressed. And on the other hand, we have also been engaging so much with the private sector, even the private sector federation itself, calling them and reminding them that the Rwanda quality policy is open to having private players also taking part, seeing these as opportunities to invest into, for example, testing capabilities, investing in laboratories. Private certification bodies are encouraged because the policy is open to that. We are already initiating private inspection schemes. Maybe that is something I forgot to talk about, the great achievements that RICA has made. Knowing that it is a national policy to ensure that Rwanda is private sector led, in seeing all the constraints around resources, we have done a lot in initiating private schemes. For example, we have put in place a private seed inspection scheme. We have also put in place a private meat inspection scheme. All this is creating a business opportunity while overcoming the challenges which we had in terms of staffing, to be able to extend our mandate of doing inspection and bringing quality and safety on the market, while creating the business opportunity for the private sector. The other achievement again, which still I did not mention about important, is that we reviewed the competition and consumer protection policy, which was adopted by Cabinet in 2023, and as we talk, the law is under review. It's at the level of Parliament, the law on competition and consumer protection. So by reviewing such a law and having done new policy, we are considering context and seeing the dynamics of the market and trying to address new challenges that are coming with the market dynamics. You can see we have had of recent a lot of e-commerce trade being done through those ICT platforms, bringing new challenges which we never had with the new competition and consumer protection policy. And so in order to deal with them effectively, it starts with the regulation, it starts with the policy. So all those are some of the strategies to address the challenges, and which will finally be backed, as I said, with the reform. Strengthening of institutional framework will be strengthened. and the enforcement will be improved. Basically, when we plan our priorities, we align with the national priorities. As you know, currently we have the NST2, and among the areas that are on focus, we have got agriculture, we've got in manufacturing, we have different products in manufacturing like heavy steel, we've got in light manufacturing, we've got different industries. So whenever we prepare our priorities, we ensure that those are on top of our enforcement. But in terms now of enhancing our services as inspection body, we are mainly developing schemes, private schemes, as I mentioned, because it's also part of the strategy of the country to be private sector economy led. So that's why, as I mentioned, we are developing different private schemes. So far we have developed the seed inspection private scheme, meat inspection private scheme. In the pipeline, we are also working with different stakeholders, different development partners. For example, some of the development partners we are working in this area, we are working with AGRA, we are working with Trademark Africa, we are working with many other development partners through establishment of young professional program, whereby this will enhance their understanding of these subject matters, and in the long run we intend also to increase the private inspection schemes in the area of horticulture, in the area of dairy products. All this we do in order to extend our services in more and improve our efficiency to uphold the compliance level that is required. Because whenever we have this shortage in staffing, it directly affects our efforts of ensuring and reaching to all businesses, working with them or enforcing the compliance level. So one of the biggest priority is to improve that visibility, that availability of our services, both in terms of awareness and also enforcement, because they go hand in hand. You cannot enforce without having created awareness. So this is one of the biggest area that we are looking into. And then another priority is also to enhance the testing capabilities. Here now I'm not speaking specifically as RICA, but our mission cannot be achieved. As I mentioned, that our mission is to do scientific-based inspections, scientific evidence-based decision-making and professional judgment. You can't do them without having certain facilities, as I said, like laboratories, and also without building the competencies of the people. The other very important priority among RICA operations so as to achieve the mandate, we are working towards strengthening business internal quality controls. Yeah, because you find most of the businesses are not performing professionally, if I can say. I will have to correct that. Not most. Some of the businesses, right, are not doing their businesses professionally. What do I mean by businesses being done professionally? You can't involve in a business that is regulated without having an internal quality control person who really understands and masters. Only to depend on the mercy and waiting for the regulatory body, it is too late. By the time the regulatory body comes, perhaps you have already made losses and the regulatory body will only come to reject. So that's not what we are looking for. For sustainable business development, we want to make sure that we have as many competent professionals on the market. So we are achieving this by partnering with different development partners, government is also putting resources into this to develop competencies, skills required. To make this really clear to the people who are in the business sector under RICA regulation, I always like to refer to compare this with what is familiar in the management sectors. When I say management sectors, I'm trying to refer to things like accounting, auditing, in the financial sectors. We are familiar that this is a common thing that any bank, any business will want to hire an accountant with professional courses, because the professional courses bring about real hands-on skills, the real practical skills that are required to make your accounting excellent. So the same is for the enterprises in different sectors, right from agriculture, livestock, as I said, all sorts of engineering, like businesses in construction, businesses in electrical and electronics, leather, textile, all those are priorities of the country. We need to be sure that you have professionals who not only have the education background, but who have had professional courses that help them to do the right thing. So this is a priority of RICA, top priority, among top of priority of RICA, because that's the only way we can bring about sustainable compliance and competitiveness of our products. Yeah, so we call upon any interested party to join us in this effort of bringing these skills and knowledge and competency among the young people in Rwanda, among the already employed employees of the different businesses, to develop those tailored skills required for specific businesses, because that's the only aspect that can bring about the difference, the quality we are looking up to, the sustainability of the businesses, profitability of businesses, and reduction of losses can only come by having and hiring a competent person. So this is really among our top priority.